Hi everyone. Hope you had a blessed day or a fruitful day during the day. This is I welcome you and officially on Special Tech Django Friday sessions, whereby we do hold these sessions regularly most of the Friday sessions, and we do invite some of us are the developers and different people in the tech industry to talk about the Python, Django framework, anything to do with Python and Django. So these are the opportunity for different personnel to take an advantage, even to teach and to learn in the Django field and the Python framework. So Space Tech is a strong community of softwares, designers, product managers, and even the digital marketers. So at the moment you conduct mentorship sessions for people transitioning into tech, or these people those who are interested in tech. And at the moment the cohort that is almost ending the mentorship session, which is a web development, almost ending. They're in the project phase handled by Mark Mcbull, one of our mentors on our end. And we also have UI UX designers who are handling part of a project by Space Tech, and developers who are handling who are also be taking part of the open source project, which the Django team and Python team is still in progress and they're working on it. So I welcome everyone for this session, the Django Fridays, whereby you're going to tackle the do's and the don'ts of the Django framework. So on this day, we had one of our own, that is Boniface Minor, whom I could welcome to introduce himself, then start off the session. Boniface, hi.
Hello.
Yeah, you can welcome and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Okay, hello guys. My name is Boniface Minor. I'm a full stack Django developer, and nice to have you here. So today we'll be talking about the do's and the don'ts of Django. So if you allow me to share my screen, I'll proceed and share my screen. So I'll welcome you back to the session. So today the topic was about the do's and the don'ts of Django and Django REST framework. So we're going to be tackling the do's and the don'ts of Django and Django REST framework. So I hope everybody is okay so that we can proceed. I anticipated this session will be interactive, such that there will be some coding and not pre-written code. So it's code that we write when we go through. Yeah, so welcome to the session. Okay, so a little more information about me. I'm a Django full stack developer, and I studied at Moringa School. So before then, I didn't know anything to do about coding, and since then I've been coding all through, maybe 10 hours per day, maybe. Also, I love open source, and therefore I take great pleasure out of working on interesting open source projects. Okay, let me share the link to the slides if anyone wants to follow along. So 1 second, please. So there is a link. So if you want to follow along in with the slides, you can do so. So as I was saying, I love open source, and therefore, yeah, I like giving back to the community. That's like my passion. Okay, so we'll begin with the do's and the don'ts. So I interpreted this one like the do's, these are the best practices, and the don'ts, these are like the bad practices. So I took an approach whereby we'll start with the bad practice, which is the don't, but not particularly being the don't. Like you don't do that, but we're talking about the best practice to increase your output and how you are coding. So maybe if if the best practice will help you write less code, that means you write less code. So that means that in future you fix less bugs. So I hope you got that. So I'm meaning in if you write less code, that means in future someone will fix less code in your bugs. And also you complete tasks faster. Therefore, on completed tasks faster, you'll do more tasks, and then that means you get more money. So yeah, basically that way. So we'll start with the so I've grouped them into you start with the bad practice, and then you go to the best practice. Like in each point, we start off with the bad practice, then in the same point we have the best practice. So the first point is follow the principles of Django and Django REST framework. Do not repeat yourself. So that means like if something has been invented, you don't have to reinvent the wheel again and do the same things that were done before. So this one includes the use of class-based views. So when let's say a newbie starts learning Django, you're introduced to using functions. So you're creating your views using functions, and that results into more repetition, and you write a lot of code. And in case you find a bug somewhere, that would be very tough for you to find that bug, and you'll be wasting a lot of time doing things that have already been done. So this one saves you from repetition and reinventing the wheel. And also, by class-based views, you write clean and maintainable piece of code that is easy to maintain. So someone in future will have to maybe solve a bug that has emerged in your code. So the lesser you write your code, the better. Okay, so in this example one, I have created a scenario I have a project that is already running. So we'll start off with the function-based view. You see how the function-based view work. The codes we write in function views. So you see how bulky the codes are. Then you transition that function-based view into class-based view, and finally we'll use the view sets. We use the view sets to make our code cleaner and less code. We use less code. So on the next point, so you have to minimize the number of queries you are making to the database to increase the speed by using query optimization methods like select related, prefetch related, and also it's a best practice to use the Django debug toolbar to see the number of queries you are making to a database. You can be making a lot of queries to a database to do a simple function, to do a simple task, a simple query, because maybe you're not aware that we have optimization methods that can help you prevent the going back to the database to get some sort of data that you'd have gotten previously within one query. So we'll look at these in the code and see how the number of queries that are happening in the database. Then we'll apply these methods to optimize But in the first case, we will have the Django debug toolbar. So that means we'll visualize the number of queries that are happening, and then we can see how these optimization methods help us reduce the queries, because if the number of records is around 1 million or 2 million and you have to revisit the database to get something that you could have got with the first query, yeah, that would be something that will help increase the speed of queries and reduce lag in the websites that people make. Okay, so in the next point is the use of libraries to perform various tasks to increase productivity and minimize bugs and mistakes. So the libraries include, these are just examples, there are so many libraries that help people basically write less code and stop reinventing the wheel. The first one, we'll use this Django filter. We'll see how Django filter minimizes the codes we write, because these are things that have been tested by other developers. These are open source projects that other developers have worked on many years. And if I will have to create my own queries, my own filtering logic, and there's someone there who made an open source project that would help me, I think that would be a mistake, because you'll be wasting time, and you don't have time to waste. Okay, so the next point is the use of Django ORM and using the Django ORM and avoiding using raw SQL queries. So in this point, I'm not meaning that you shouldn't use raw SQL queries. So what this means is that you only use raw SQL queries when needed, when what you are doing, the Django ORM can't do, because most people assume that you're optimizing something or doing something, but they don't realize that these ORMs are optimized. People worked on them and they provided the best solution to these ORMs. So saying that SQL queries, raw SQL queries are simpler, or maybe they are efficient, that that would be that would not be a good thing to say, because you can prove that first, and that will mean you write a lot of code. If you're going to write raw SQL queries, you write and write and write until you get tired. And that comes back to where we talked about someone will fix your bugs in future. And if someone will have to fix your raw SQL queries, because it's kind of like you are self-centered, like you think it's only you. So like you find some people think that the codes we write are for ourselves, like the way we used to be in high school, like someone would hide a book so that you don't study and pass. But in codes, you're not writing the code for yourself, you're writing for communities, you're solving problems. Yeah, so whenever you're writing code, bear in mind someone, maybe you're building a software, maybe you're working in a team, someone else will struggle trying to understand your code and trying to fix bugs that you would have avoided if you followed the best practices. Okay, so you find another practice whereby people don't hide their environmental variables and API keys, just expose them to GitHub or everywhere. So that's a bad practice, and that's a don't. So when I mean bad practice, I mean something that you shouldn't be doing, because it can lead to problems. Maybe you have an API key, maybe you have your Cloudinary files, maybe you have your Cloudinary secret keys, and you expose them. Someone can get to your Cloudinary account. All those things can happen. And in case a hacker can do something with your website, maybe your website will grow and someone managed to get your, maybe the software you're building, it will come and grow later on, and at some point you exposed your environmental variables. Someone might have had those variables and will exploit you. So that's a bad practice. So there are libraries to hide these environmental variables. So you basically put them in a .env file, you git ignore that .env file, then you can use libraries like Python decouple to get those variables, and that means nothing will be exposed to the outside world. Okay, another point is that so some beginners, you find a beginner is not using a virtual environment when working on a project. And these can be very costly when maybe something goes wrong and you're using the global installed Python to install your things, like install your dependencies. So this is about practice. Always use a virtual environment. Yeah, can either create a virtual environment file. You can create using pip, or maybe you can use ppnv to create those virtual environments so that you can isolate your projects with the global projects. Okay, so another point is the use of array expressions in URLs. So in the URLs file, so these array expressions are outdated, and it would be about practice to use them to write array expressions, and we have the path. That path you can use the path, but you find some people are still using the array expression in the URL. So that's a bad practice, and I hope this one, if someone is doing this, you have to stop because the tech industry is growing, and you can't be saying you can't be lagging the tech industry behind. Okay, so the next one is about readability. So the use of related names instead of relying on the. So there is this, maybe you have a foreign key, maybe you have a many fields in your models. So by default, Django will set the reverse relationship to that model name underscore set. So this is something that is not readable, and you have to change this one so that your code is readable, so that someone, when you're writing your code is in the views, someone can understand what is happening instead of something. Maybe you have a product view and something like product underscore set. So that's not readable. Someone cannot understand what you are doing at the go. So I find this is a bad practice, and I don't think someone would be using this because the readability of the code is what matters, not how many lines of code someone writes. So use the data names instead of relying on the x underscore set provided by Django to increase readability of the code and the queries. So at this point, we move on to VS Code. I've prepared a project. I hope you are still seeing my screen. So I'll demonstrate on the bad practice. We start on the bad practice number one, which was about the use of function-based views. So before I start, I'll take you through my models. So I have a very simple project that I named Vidle, and the Vidle project have a base app. This base app is what we'll be using in this session. So let me take you through the models. So these models are pre-made. I made these models prior to this session. So we have the first model is a category. So this is a video application, video website, an imaginary video website that has categories of maybe movies, kind of like movies. So I think I should have called this one class movies. So we have talked about naming conventions. This is a movie. I can change this one. So this is a movie website that stores movies. That's like a Netflix website. So we have a categories and a movie. So in the category, you have the name of the category. Maybe we have this movie is about action. This movie is about comedy, drama. Then we have the class, the model of movie, the exact movie. We have a title, we have a description, a video URL. I include a video URL because it is easier, because this session, we don't want this session to be long. So we have the uploaded art, which is a datetime field, and then we have a foreign key to the category, and you can see I've added the data name as movie videos. So can change this one to movies. So this was one of the practices, best practices. You have a related name that is easier to read. So in my queries, maybe have category dot movies, movies in a specific category. So when I write something like categories dot movies, that would be very good. Someone would be able to read, and anybody, even a beginner, will know what is happening. So we are saying this category give us the movies. But in case you don't add this one, now the reverse relationship would be something like movie underscore set. So a beginner might wonder, what are you setting? Someone might wonder, what are you setting? And finally, we have this magic method. So this magic method is a string representation of Python. String representation. So what we are basically saying here is that our string representation will be the title. Give us the title. By default, it is something. It's an object. Maybe so you overwrite this one. Then you say we want ours to be. Give us the self dot title. So that's all I have. Also, I have a serializer. So I wanted to talk about the serializer, how the serializer evolved to model serializer, but that would take long. Little bit. Let me fix this one. And also, you might realize that this is not pre-made code. So from there on, the URLs we don't have anything. In the views we have nothing. We only have anything in the models. The models, this SQLite database is already populated with some data I made using the admin panel. So that's all we have. I have also, let me go to my settings. So this is something we talked about, hiding the config files, hiding the environmental variables, and then using libraries to get those environmental variables. You can see here the secret key isn't exposed. You can see you have a warning here. Secret warning, keep the secret key used in production secret. So we have done that. That's a good practice. Also in production, people should remember that the debug mode should be false. The allowed host, you have to make sure you allow only the front end to access the website. I also have some libraries I've installed: Django filters, Django framework, REST framework, the debug toolbar, and this is our app. So currently, we have nothing else. So what I wanted to start off is to quickly go through a function-based approach, and then we quickly turn down that to a class-based view set. And then we can see how this will improve our code and how we want to write more code. So on starting on a function, let me first install my model. So from .models import, you have this one. You have the movie model, and also you have the category. But maybe you won't use the category because of time. So first off, we have to create a function. So we have to create a function, and we give it a name. We call it movie underscore if. So this will be responsible for listing our movies. It takes in the first argument is a request. Then what we want to return here, first of all, we want to return a simple response. You can see here in line 1, I have imported the REST framework.response. We have a response. I'm not using the HTTP response class. I'm using the the response from REST framework. So you can do something like return a response of okay. And also the next thing we have to do, go to the URLs and map our URL to this view function. So that's simple. So you can see on the top we have imported the path. We can use that. We can say the first path will be videos, not videos, movies. Movies, and then we specify our function will be views dot movie underscore list. So that's all we have to do. If you allow me, I'll switch to. Hey, you guys, are you still hearing me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thanks. Let me start this web server. I hope cannot import name video from base dot. So we'll use this one, as in we'll code along with you guys. You can see this app isn't set up. So when you get errors, we fix the errors like developers do, instead of having pre-made code that you don't know what the code is doing. So I got an error there. I don't know. Not import name. Cannot import from .models import video and category. I don't know what that is. I guess the serializers. This app has started disturbing the first 10 minutes of the presentation. From .models, admin.file line 2. Oh, I changed the name to movie. So I can use this one here. Let me restart the web server again. Admin.file. So yeah. So we can go to the slash API slash videos slash movies. I've been using videos, that's why something is happening. Movies. Accepted, not on the response. So guys, return a response. Return response of okay. Session error accepted and are not set on response. So let's remote response. We have API slash movies. That accepted, not on the response. Something is happening. Let me fix this one first. So from movies, views movies underscore list. I don't know why this is happening. So let's remote import response. Anyone can see any problem in this code? Can a response of okay. I don't know what's happening. In response is response dot render. accepted data not set on response. View.movies list. Guys, anyone who can see the in error in this code? I don't know what's happened. Response. Yeah. I don't know what's happening in this code. Keep getting that error. You guys, anyone who can see any problem with this? I'm getting this error and just start a session error. Something is happening. Session is not in big. Movie underscore list. Oh, from dot views. That will fix that error. No. From dot views. No. And dot import views for movies. Guys, can you see any problem with this code? I don't know what happened. Second render not in the wow. Guys, are you still there?
I hear you.
I don't know what happened. Let's try moving on. Let's see, maybe. So let's move on. Maybe something is wrong with this code. Something somewhere. Don't know. Don't know what happened. So let me continue. Maybe you'll find the error as we go on. So the first thing we have to do. So the first thing is we can create a movies query set. Let me call this one a query set. Is equal to movie get movie objects dot or then what we do next is so this is a query set and we want it to be I know where the problem is. Let me return the response of okay. What was happening is that I did not decorate this function as our API view, so that's why we have that error. So from REST framework decorators import API view. So this is what I didn't do. I didn't decorate this one as an API view. That's why we got that error. So let's see. Fix this. So as you can see now, we have our response. So we have a response with okay. So what we have to do next, we want to return the data. We want to return all the movies. So what we do, we create a movie query set. You can call it query set is equal to movie dot objects. So this one will give us a query set which is not someone is okay. So what we do, this query set will give us all the movies, but we need the JSON representation of these movies. So what we do, we use the serializer. So I created a serializer here before the session. So I created a serializer here before the session. This is a video. Let me call it movie serializer. This is a movie serializer. Basically, serializes our movie. And also here is a best practice to separate the inner representation of our models with the outer representation. So some people use this magic keyword. So they set the fields equals to something like underscore underscore all. So this one is not a best practice because maybe you have secret information, maybe sensitive information in your model, and or maybe in future you have those. Now when you use the underscore underscore, it will return all the data from your models, and that is not a good practice because you have to specify what you need from the models. So here I want these fields to be serialized. I want the ID, the title, the description, video URL, uploaded at, and the category. So all these come from our models. You can see we have a title, description, video URL, all these we have them in our models, and we have a foreign key to the category. So what we do, we import that serializer here. From dot serializers import movie serializer. So what we do here, we create a serializer object. Serializer serializer is equals to the movie serializer. Then we give it our query set. This query set we have here. This query set is the returns all the movies in our database using the .all. And then we specify here, specify minute to true so that we can get many movies in the serializer. Let me no space here. We get that, and then finally, instead of returning a response with OK, we return the serializer.data. Click up, get the query set that you want serialized. You call the serializer, give it the query set. It will give you a JSON representation of the query set, and then you can return a response with the serializer.data. So when you refresh here, we should get no such table based underscore movie. Oh, no such table. From dot models. So something is happening wrong here. I don't know why. From the moment we change the delete model video, okay. Okay, so I changed the model from videos to movies. That's why you're getting so many errors. Bear with me, this is a project build, and I guess you see the errors we face during the now we have a problem. Maybe guess you can give me a second. I log into the admin and add some movies. problem here. Currently we don't have any movie. Let me add simple movie here, the Flash. Flash. Cool. Video URL and this one. The category will be, let me say action. Save. Let me add like 4 movies. Like Blazing Leon. Video URL. This one, let me say this one is a drama. So 2 more. Let me add comedy. Big Bang Theory. Comedy. Video URL. Comedy. Okay, so you can use these ones. Let me go back to the API/movies. Now let's clear out some now. So you can see now the serializer gave us the serialized data, and our API is now currently working. So I had prepared we would have a movie list and a movie detail, but I can see time is going. I don't know what we can do. Also, I will skip the part for the generate view sets, not view sets, generic API views. We'll go direct to the model view sets because I guess time is gone. Here you can have a movie that's for detail, which will give us the details of a movie. This one will take a request and a primary key. Then we can have our movie, because this one is not a query set. This is it will give us a movie. This one will give us a movie. So and say movie objects dot. So we have to get a single movie. We can do a get, then the primary key is equal to primary key. Then we can get a serializer. Then the serializer is the movie serializer. Movie serializer, then we give it the movie object. Give it the movie object. Then here we return a response and serializer dot data. Then we can go for to the URLs. Movies slash, then go to the movies. Then we need an integer here, the primary key. That's all we need. When we apply the primary key here, expected keyword okay. Something is really off. Request vid objects dot get primary key is equal to primary key. Expected keyword argument. Primary key is equal to primary key. Something is wrong again. Yet again. So movies slash integer primary key. Oh no. We have used dot movie detail. Today is a bad day. Okay, so we got our movie detail back from this one. Now you can see the we have a scenario we have to fix here. What if someone inputs an invalid maybe 100 and you don't have 100? So what will happen? We don't have a D10, we get an exception. This should not be the case. You should always return an error to the user. Maybe the product does not exist. So what can we do here in the movie details? So the first thing we can do is to use a try catch block. So we try whether this one works, then I will not simulate that one because I don't think we have time. But there's a shortcut we use, which is the import from Django. From Django dot let's import get object or 404. So what we do here, instead of getting that object and it will bring us an error if someone does something wrong, we can use this shortcut get object or 404 and then give it the movie model. Then you can give it the primary key. So even if someone brings an ID that does not exist, you not get an exception in our code. So that means our program will not crash. Not unpack iterable int. Yeah. Movies. We get all the movies. So we get an object of 404, then we give it the model and the primary key. This is not working. I don't know why. Then we get a serializer, give it the movie, then we return a response. I don't know why this is not working. Not unpack.get, not iterable int object. Give it the model, get object of 404, then the primary key. Today is a bad day, but that's okay. Get object of 404. Give it the model. The model is movie. We give it the primary key. I don't know why this is not working.
Maybe movie returned is an integer instead of an object.
I don't know why this is happening. Let's specify here we need an integer primary key, movies dot detail. Then we get a specific movie.
Line 20, print to see if movie is an object or an integer, because the
Let me do this. Let me remove this serializer here. Response of okay. Site is not working. Not back non-interable int object. Int object is not iterable. Let me see how this will work. I think it's very long. Not enough to unpack. True. Okay. This is the day. Barrier not enough values to unpack, expected to got one. And let's first stick with get the single movie. that one later. We don't have time. Objects dot get that single movie is equal to pk. I know what have happened. Get object for you give it the movie, and you say pk is equal to pk. I assume that, and that's why you're getting that error. That's okay. So we could get something. Okay, so we got our response. So we give the serializer. Let's see what, oh. So the serializer will be equal to our movie serializer. And we give it our movie. We can return our data here. So by using the get object or for something is happening. Okay, so now working. So by using the get object or for, if we say and we get an object that doesn't exist, we don't get an exception. We get a response, detail not found, and for not found. So we can move on. Now what we'll do, we want to post in this API. Let's start with the movie list. So this is our movie list. We get our movies, the movie, the flash, these movies. What if we want to post our movie? This is where the function-based views do something that is not good. You write a lot of code. So what we first do, so we specify the methods here. You have to specify the method because initially the method that is by default is the get method. So if you need to post to this endpoint, you have to specify what you are doing, and then you have to explicitly write these ugly if functions. So if request dot method is equals to get, then you execute this code. Then you have to explicitly say elif the request dot method is equals to post. We have started already writing a lot of code. So we first take our serializer. Is equals to, now here something will happen here, but we'll fix that one. So when you give it our movie serializer, and then the data will be equals to the request.data. So we give the serializer our data so that it can give us the data. Then here there's another method that you write another ugly if statement that is if serializer dot is valid underscore valid. And there is a shortcut, so I won't show this one, so I'll go direct to the shortcut. The serializer dot is valid. Then there is this shortcut of supplying a keyword argument to raise an exception to true. If there is an exception, then you have to raise it. But there is another way where people write code like if serializer dot is valid, do this. Then you go to another else statement, but this one is a shortcut. So this is another best practice to use. Then you save our serializer. And see we are explicitly doing things manually, and we return a response with our serializer dot data. Here something will happen here. So if you can see, let's first. So in our detail, maybe we wanted to show the category, we wanted to show the category name. So we wanted to show the name, the ID, and the name. So what we can do, we can create another serializer here, category serializer. serializers dot model dot serializer class of meta and the model to model is equals to category and the fields will be equals to, we need the ID, we need the title, I don't know that's a title, ID and the name. Need the ID and the name. Maybe here we want our category to include the name of the ID, the ID and the name. So category will be equals to our category serializer. So our category will be our category serializer. So when you refresh here, okay, now you can see we get a good representation of our data. So we can see in our category we have an object, the name and the name, which is the category name, and the ID. Now this is a question that pops up. How do you post to this website? How do you send data in an object? So you can see here we can post. How can we post data to a website when we have a nested dictionary? That's a question that pops up, and there is only one workaround. So you have to come here and see in our movie, what do we require in our movie? We require the title, the description, the video URL, the uploaded at, and the category. And here the category is the ID of the category. So what do you do if you have this scenario? Because you have a nested object here in the category. What do you do? So what you can do, you can create another serializer specifically for posting data to our endpoint. So this would be, we call it simple, something like simple movie serializer. Give it the serializers. Basically, this is similar to this previous one, but this one will be specifically for posting data. Find the model to movie and the fields. Now here is where you specify the fields we need only when posting data. We need the title. We need all these fields. That means we don't have to, we're not going to send a nested object to our endpoint. So what are we going to send in our endpoint? We're going to send our title, the ID, title, description, video URL, uploaded at. Now this one we don't send to the server. We don't send ID to the server. So we need the title, description, video URL, and the category. So we can post here and see if this will really work. So let me copy here. Let me copy this object. Let's go. We have our title. You can say something like Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious. We need the description. We need the description. The description would be like something like Fast is good. And then finally we need the category. Video URL. Underscore URL. Equals to google.com. So this is just dummy data. In a real world scenario, you have a more complex endpoint. The ID I can set it to category ID, maybe ID 6 is the comedy. So you can see this is a comedy, even if it's not a comedy. This is ID 6. Now when you post the data, what you have specified in the views, you can see we give it our movie serializer, which is the same serializer that serialized our listing, the listing endpoint. So we have to import the simple serializer we had, then use that one here. This is a simple movie serializer. Then we can post this data and see whether it will really work. There's an passing, something happened. Pattern periods first is good. Oh, quote there. So you can see our object has been created. We have a 200 OK message and the post has been made. You can verify that from if we get all these. You can see our Fast and Furious object has been created and you can still see the category object nested. So this is a question that pops up. How do we post to an endpoint that has a nested object? That's how we do it. You can see we have started writing a lot of code. So we have written a lot of code. Now imagine, I want to go through the detail, how to do the detail. But now here in the detail, you need to specify, because in the detail view, you need to update, you need to patch. You have to write all that here. You have to say get, then you have to say something like post, not post, put. So you have to be explicit in what you are doing. And then you write a lot of code. A lot of code. You write code after code after code after code. So that's where the class-based views comes into play. And I had planned to do you go to the class-based views, use the list API views and the create API views, and then finally we change this view function to a model view set, but we don't have time. So what I can do here, I'll go direct to the model view set. The view sets combine these views together. So we don't have to movie list, we don't have a movie detail, we have only one view set, which we use to give us our data. So I'll comment out this one for the meantime. Let me come here. Use the model view sets. You have to import them from test_framework view sets. Import. So there is the first view set that is responsible for all the CRUD operations. That is the model view set. And also, so this one supports all the operations, the put operations, the patch, post, but you can be explicit. Let's check the implementation of this class. So this class inherits from the create model mixin. So this create is responsible for creating an object, a new object to a endpoint. This one is for retrieving. This one is for updating. This is for deleting. This one is for destroying and listing. So you can see the model view set combines all the other mixins. So these are mixins. It combines them all together. So if in your API you don't want to support, maybe you want only to support the listing only, you come here to the list model mixin. You can inherit directly from the list model mixin instead of inheriting from the model view set. So we can see we have more. We have so generic view sets. We have the generic view sets. Like it depends with the what your project requires you to do. So this model view set inherits everything, creating, updating, destroying everything. So we can come here and create a class and call it movie view set. And also you can realize the naming convention I'm using. This is a class. So every letter of a class should be capitalized. You can see here in the function, we didn't have that. So in the function, we didn't have that. So what we do here, this one, what happened here? So this one inherits from the model view set we have defined there up. Happening. So this one is a model view set. I think you have seen, guys, what the model view set does. If I had time, I would explain, but don't have time. The model view set inherits from all the other mixins that are responsible for various functions: the creating, retrieving, updating, and listing. What we are doing here, we only have one movie view set that is responsible for everything, including the detail. You can see here in our function based, we have the listing, we have the detail for the listing. Yeah, these are a lot of code. Now, what happens here in the model view set? There is this generic view set. It has inherited from the generic view set. So let me show you. So you can see here in the generic view set, we have various attributes that we can override. So all we have to supply in our views is a query set attribute and the serializer class. Then it will do all the others. But maybe you need to be explicit with your query set. What do? You override these methods. There's a get query set, get object, get serializer class, get serializer class. You can override these one to prevent you from writing like reinventing the wheel basically, because you can see all this logic is made here. You can see all this logic, the saving logic, every logic is captured by the REST framework team. So what we do here, you can define a query set here to be equal to movie dot object dot all. Then you define a serializer class. We have two serializers, but we first use the movie serializer. We just say movie serializer. So that's our movie serializer. That's all we need to do in our view set. So compare that with all these ugly if statements and all that. But here there is a change you have to do, because now you don't have specific patterns for the detail for the view. So here in the URLs, you are not going to specify the path to the view set, because the view set is one, only that it has more functionality. So what we can do here, we need to import the routers. So from REST framework routers import default router. So we're going to use this default router for our views to map our view set and give us the specific URLs. So what do? You create a router object, a router variable. This is an object which is the instance of this class. Now you register our path. Let's say we want the movies. Then you specify the view set. So it will be views dot movie view set. You specify the views and the movie view set. Here I guess we get an error first, but let's try this one and see what happens. So default router is not callable. So define a default router. Something is happening again. Default router is not callable. No. Default router REST framework. Let me Google these ones really fast. I don't know what's happening. Router dot. This one should be called. I don't know what's happening. Default router. Something is happening. Can't get. Oh, I see where the error is. So we do router dot register. We register our path. That's what was causing the error. Circular import. Router.register. This is weird. Router is equal to default router. Register movies, then views.movies. Guys, can you see anything wrong here? Oh, bad. We need a URL pattern. We need a URL pattern which would be equal to our router.urls. Okay, so with the default router, we get something more. We get some additional details. You can see now we have an API route which specifies the routes we have in our URLs. So let me delete this one. So we can go to our movies, and you can see the same logic is working. So you can see how we got all the movies we needed just by writing. These are big lines of code. Now let's simulate a scenario whereby we want to post to this API. Let me see whether it's no. Don't need this one. So we can also get a specific movie. Then by using the default, you can see we have all the functions. We have the delete options, get. But now we have an issue. So let me go back. We have an issue. The same issue we had with posting our movies because we have a nested object of the category. So what we do when we are in the view set, this is very simple. We just override the. So here you can supply if you don't have a specific logic to your view set, you specify a specific this attribute, you set the query set there. But what if your query set is the logic is a bit complex? What do? Now you don't set the query set attribute, you override the get query set method. So get query set. Let me first simulate. You see it won't work. Let me try posting something. Let me post something that is let's try posting here. It can post because currently we have an object. Our serializer is expecting this nested object, but our models are not like that. So now we override the get query set at method. How do you do that? Just do get query set. You override this one, and then you can supply an if statement here. So if self dot request, just that self dot request that method is equals to, we check if the method is equal to get. If it's equals to get, what's wrong with this Python? We check if our method is get, and if our method is get, we return our movie serializer. No. Should not have overwritten the query set. Dot objects dot or. I should not have overwritten the query set. I should have. This one is what I should have removed. So we are defining a function. We are overwriting the function that is previously defined in this mode of view set, and then we return our movie serializer here. If it is get, and if it's not get, all the others will be a simple movie serializer object. So let's try posting now. Got something. Function error. Query set is equals to movie. not get query set. Should be get serializer. Get serializer underscore class. Get serializer, yeah. Get serializer underscore class. So we are overriding the serializer class that we return. That's the reason work. The reason is working. Now you can see in our form to post, what we require us to post is just the title, the description, and the video URL. We add this one. Now you can see we can get our, basically we can post using our category, but if you are posting a raw JSON object, you just post the category ID. So when you post this one, you can see the post was created, and if you can get the data, you can see this object that I have created here is back. So if your logic is complex and complex more than the serializer class, you want to return maybe multiple serializers. You can see here we have a movie serializer, simple serializer. That's what you can do. So what you do, you overwrite the get serializer class. But if your logic is simple, just write the get serializer, the serializer class attribute. So these are how many lines? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 lines of code versus all these. And we didn't finish because here we were supposed to add more methods. So on the next thing we have to check here is our, let me make this one bigger. I have the debug toolbar here. So just look on the debug toolbar and then you can call it a day. So you can come here and see the queries you are sending to the database. How do you do that? You first have to install the Django debug toolbar. Then you can come here to the SQL queries and click on the SQL queries. Let me see what happened. Okay. So now we can see the queries we are doing. Currently in our API, we only have 5 movies. Yeah, these are 5 movies. And you can see we are making 9 queries to the database. Why is this happening? This is one of the you can see here we had a section 2, minimize the number of queries of the database to increase speed by use of query optimization methods like select related, prefetch, and debug toolbar. So what do we do if we are making these queries? What is happening is that since we have our category here, when our serializer comes back when our serializer finds the category, it goes back to the database to get the category of each specific item. So if we have 5 products, we have 5 more extra queries. What if we have 1 million? We'll get more queries and we'll be saying our Django is slow. But Django is not slow. It's how you write your code, the queries you make. So what do? You eager load when you are getting the movies, you eager load them with the categories. How do you do that? Just use the select related method. So here you can see we are getting all objects. We first get the movie object, but we don't have the categories. So what will happen when our query set is evaluated? The Django will send another query for each movie to read its category. What do you do? Before calling the all method, call the select related, which is the select related from the movies is the category. So just specify the category here. Category. So what are we doing here? We're saying when you're getting the movies, please get the category as well. So let's see if our queries are optimized. This will be the last thing you're doing. Maybe if you get another session, you can do something more with it. Now we can see we get the same data, but our queries are now at 4. we only have 4 queries. But previously, I guess we had how many? I don't know, 9 or 10. So imagine if we had 1,000 products. So we have 1,000 queries sent to the database to read the category of that specific movie. But when we prefetch the category with the movie. So here we are saying get the movie and please get the category of that movie. So we'll never issue any other query apart from. So basically we are issuing only one query, the database. You can see these. The first query is for Django to do its things. These all user. We are just issuing one query versus previously we were issuing 9 queries. So you can see, so that's a do and a don't. So don't, how can they say, don't issue more queries to the database because that will be costly. Imagine you have hosted this website and maybe you have 10 million products. What would happen? You're saying Django is slow, but the way of writing queries. So I guess we'll reach there for so we have tackled two. So we tackled this one, but we didn't tackle because there was some challenges. So we minimized the number of queries. I guess I've shown this one. So I wanted to show the Django filter, but we don't have time for that. Also, use Django RM to avoid raw SQL queries. We didn't look at that. Always hide. This one we looked at it using virtual environment. The related names, we saw that it's good to have the related name. And that's the end of the presentation for today. So sorry guys, we had some issues with the VS Code because I didn't have something written before recording. I wanted it to be project based. How would someone would approach the solution? Maybe get errors, and that's how it is. So when you have question, you can proceed and ask.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you, Boniface. We're gonna some issues though nimeona, but I wasn't able to respond kwa nini, or I couldn't unmute my mic. But at least we've seen them practically. I've seen someone was raising his hand. That was Ian. Ian Juguna. You can ask your question. Someone. Okay. Someone is asking on the chat whether you can get the slides. I think Boniface actually you shared the slides earlier. You can actually resend the slides.
Okay.
I just resend it. There was a hand that was up. Ian, you left. You stopped asking your question.
Okay, so guys, if there's no one who have a question, feel free to reach out to me. That was a nice session, and yeah, we bumped into some errors, real world errors, and that's how it is like outside here. There was no point of me doing the code previously before recording and coming and saying do this. Now like we have a recording, you can go there and check, hey, this error was happened to me also. So I had prepared more on the Django filters. I wanted to show you how using Django filters is easier. Also I wanted to show you how step by step how you filter based on the query parameters that are passed in the URLs, and then show you how the Django filter does that very easily. But we don't have time, we got into some errors, and yeah, I'll leave you with a quote that says a good software engineer delivers working software in time. Yeah, guys, have a good night.
Okay, there's something actually I actually noticed. We were not actually reading the we were not reading these error logs. We were rushing through the error logs. I think for good practice, maybe for everyone here, for the benefit of everyone, whenever you get an error on Django,
Yeah.
the first thing is, did you read through the error log? Because most of the time, most of the time the solution is on the error log. You get to see where you're going wrong. So we were rushing through the error logs. That is one. So we could start from that maybe. Okay, whenever you get an error on Django, whenever you are deploying or whenever you are testing it, the first thing is what errors are you getting? What logs? What are the logs saying? That is the first thing. Someone, okay, Charles is raising his hand. Yes, Charles.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for taking us through the session.
Yeah.
And I was asking if we could get the recording of the session, if possible.
Actually, the session is recorded. You'll get a YouTube link will be sent. It's posted on YouTube later on, maybe later in the night or tomorrow morning. A link will be shared, maybe to various platforms. Yeah, I think that will suffice.
Okay. Also, give me on the logs. Like I've been writing code, so we didn't have enough time, so we couldn't go error by error and then say this is how you do it, because we didn't have enough time, because such a session would take maybe 3 hours, because you have to get to a specific error and say what do you do if you get this error. So yeah,
I get that, because the pressure of the presentation and all. That is understandable. We all go through that pressure. Ile time unasema ngona test, whenever you're testing your application, then you get to stand before a crowd to present it. Things happen. Yeah, that is human. I think we can maybe if there's any other question, maybe Lawrence can. I don't know whether he's still in, but if there is any person with any other question. And Lawrence already shared the link to the YouTube channel, so the YouTube channel is already shared there. And there's a form that we are filling. So this form is just to get to know. We're just getting statistics of the Django Friday session. So you can just fill the form out of courtesy. Just fill it so that we get some info on how best these sessions are going. Anything else, Juma, you might need to add? So Juma is the one behind the Tech account. So Juma is the one who is hosting these the Django Fridays for us every Friday. So we might call upon you from time to time. We might want this we call the speakers for our sessions. So if you feel that you can do a session like the Django Fridays, just you can get in touch. Maybe you can DM me on WhatsApp, or just make a call, or wherever you can get to reach me. Maybe on Twitter. We'll get to schedule a session.
Yep. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you for taking your time to join us for this session, and hope you have learned one or two things from Boniface. Yeah, Jimmy, is it are we closing up, or there's any questions? Anybody has a question?
I think we've exhausted the questions. I think it was a straightforward. It was just a walkthrough. So minimal questions we don't have many questions to tackle. So unless maybe someone has a burning question, I don't think there's much to do from this point on.
On my end, I want to thank Boniface for taking your time to join us and sharing your knowledge with us, and also sharing your knowledge with other devs too.
It is that time you say ni hayo kwa sasa. So have a good night, guys. See you next week, same place, same time. Thank you.
Thank you, guys, and have a good night on your end. And you can also take your time to fill up the form that I've shared too. Thank you, and have a blessed night on your end.
Just keep quiet. Ian, ulinyamaza. I was waiting for you.